Hi, this is Charlie giving you Monday's market commentary. I hope you're very well. Recording this on Sunday evening, and I just want to run through just a couple of things with you. If you remember last week, I was talking about the euro dollar and if it could get up to the above 110.50. So we're above that 110.50 now. Let's get rid of this trend line. I don't know where that's come from. So we're above that 110.50 50 now, and we've got all the way up to what, 112. And so what's going to be interesting now is to see what happens next. And what will happen next with the euro dollar will have quite a large bearing as to what happens next on the dollar index. We'll come back to that in a moment. I just want to have a quick look at the pound dollar, because again, with the pound dollar, I suspect it's probably going to come up and want to come up into this zone, which it's done again on Friday. Again, I don't know whether this is going to break out yet or if it's going to pull back. So what we need to do is go to the dollar index. So let's have a look at that, if I can find it there. Yeah, it is. So here's the dollar index. This is the daily chart of the dollar index. So I'm just going to make this really brief, and I think this is the way that it might play out. Right, first and foremost, we've come down to some support here on the dollar index. So I'd be looking for the dollar index to come up at least a bit. So if that comes up, then we should probably, well, we would expect the euro dollar to come down, the pound versus the dollar to come down, etc., etc., and probably and therefore the dollar yen more likely to go up as well. Then we're going to come up to my upper bands up here, and so the dollar index doesn't have to come up by too much, but that's going to be where it's going to get interesting. So what I'm looking for is it to come up, and then it's a case of, does it break out? If it breaks out and we see the dollar index back up at 97.50, then all bets are off and we could be pushing up for new highs for this move. But so 97.50 is going to be interesting if we can get a close above 97.50. If we don't though, if we have a bit of a bounce, maybe the early part of this week, and then start to roll over, what I'll be looking for is to see if last week's lows get broken. If 96 gets broken, then I suspect we've got a decent run to the downside. If we get a decent run to the downside on the dollar index, then I'll be looking for a good run, probably down into the lower 90s. So 92 I'm looking at as a level. So if we do break last week's lows, I think overall this market's probably therefore on the turn, and we're heading down towards potentially 92. If that's the case, we're going to see more of a bounce then in the euro dollar. But that's not right now. What I'm seeing potentially right now is a bit of a dollar index bounce, which would mean a euro dollar pullback. Then it's a case of, does it hold? If it doesn't and it breaks out, then we'll carry on seeing the euro dollar sell off. If it holds and then the dollar index rolls back down, then what we'll see is the euro dollar take off to the upside. So that's how I'm looking at it. There's two scenarios there, but that's essentially it. So I'm looking at 97.50 is the line in the sand for the dollar index. If it closes above that, I think we're going to be breaking out to new highs. However, if it comes and breaks 96, if it breaks 96, doesn't really need to close it. I think if it just breaks 96, then what we're ultimately going to be doing is seeing the dollar index heading down to into the low 90s, and therefore we're likely to see the euro dollar go up to new highs for this move. So that's it. I don't need to say much more. Have a good week. I'll be back on Friday.